So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No! On into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner this.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down, Michael for three. Yeah! Yes! She is gone! I don't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
You believe in miracles? Yes!
Number 5 and ready.
What?
Good evening, Cubs and Cardinals fans. It's Thursday, January 13th, and this is the Team of Rivals COVID cast. Okay, that fell flat. Proud members of the Gateway City Sports Network, where you can find great podcast and blog content. You can follow us online at teamofrivalspodcast.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Rumble at Team of Rivals Podcast, and we're on Twitter and Getter at Team of Rivals Pod. For those of you watching us live, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and be sure to ring that bell on YouTube and Rumble so that you receive notifications anytime we post new content. I don't really have much of a monologue here other than to raise a glass to BDJ. One hell of a career, sir. 200 wins. We'll see you at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Joining me for tonight's show, co-founder of the Team of Rivals and number 104 in the 2021 edition of the Top Cards on Twitter, Ron Nuttall. And joining us, as always, the permanent occasional guest host, Elliot Dewey. Gentlemen, how you doing this week?
Good evening. Sorry to hear about the COVID positiveness with y'all, or maybe not. Maybe have it, maybe don't.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I have it, but it's certainly going through the extended family. My son and his mom both tested positive last week, so I've been working from home this week since he hasn't been able to be in the school. And as of this point, I haven't received a result, so it would appear that I am stronger than this virus. That or else I've already had it.
Hit us over Christmas, so we are past it.
So that means that all three hosts of the podcast have now been inoculated, because our third, who has yet to make an appearance on the screen tonight, he's fairly certain that he tested positive. So his, I think his oldest, wasn't it? I mean, not Braden, but his other oldest.
The oldest in the house. And I'm sorry, I know I haven't jumped on yet. I'm just trying to figure out how to share stuff on Facebook this week.
No worries, my friend. How you feeling?
All right, fine. You're gonna make me do it. Not bad at all, actually. This hasn't been, and I didn't suspect that I would have the horrible symptoms or anything. It's been, if I didn't know any better, I'd say, like you've heard others say, it's winter. This is what winter does to some of us when it kind of the humidity goes away and things get dry, and it's all it feels like. So, no worries here.
Oh, now come on.
I've had colds that have been way worse than what I feel right now.
Now wait a minute. Let's go back to that conversation we had the other night. This is not what normal people experience, Ron. I do believe, what was the phrase? I'm the biggest pussy in the world, something like that.
No, yeah. No, you got to understand here. I'm comparing this to when I normally get my typical winter. Like usually when things dry up, humidity dies down, air gets dry and everything. About November-ish down here, and I'll get my first wave of a head cold, and I don't handle them too well, especially when it just screws up my sinuses. Those are the worst ones. This is what I've experienced over the last, call it 3 days, has been anything close to that. So it's definitely made me more tired, I think, than the typical annual stuff I get, I've probably been a little bit more fatigued. But as far as just feeling crummy now, man, this has been pretty simple, pretty easy to deal with, actually.
So what's going to make you feel more bitchy? Being sick and having to quarantine in your house for 5 days, or knowing that the Cubs are going to have another Hall of Famer in a few years?
I don't know. I mean, that'll be a debate. I'm interested to hear not just what we have to say tonight, but also what experts say about this. I don't know. I'd say that, like, he, out of his generation, he was one of the more durable, reliable arms. Hall of Fame, man. I don't know. It'd probably be an interesting debate. I mean, there are guys that you could probably pull up that have numbers that are a little lesser that are in. Certainly. So.
And I think that the standards have shifted in recent years, where 300 wins used to be a lock. I think given the shortening
and then there's
appearances
the whole Hall
that
of Fame
starters
ballot
make,
bullshit now, right? There's the whole Hall of Fame thing now where writers, the only reason some of these writers are posting them online is to get attention. And so it's become a joke. And you've heard me say on here before, and we'll get into it again, I'm sure, in the discussion. I don't get too bent one way or the other about the Hall of Fame. I just don't. I don't care so much about it.
I agree.
I don't know how
Elliot,
you guys feel.
What do you think? 200 wins, is it enough to get him in?
I think it's a combination of the 200 wins, the teams that he's helped win World Series, and the fact that, the guy, he might not have had the wins as some of these guys who say, well, you need 300 to get in. But that guy pitched 200 innings per season for the longest time. So, I feel like with his resume, he deserves it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking at his baseball reference page right now, and you look at some of the guys who he's compared to. That closest similarity is Dwight Gooden, and I don't think that anybody would argue that had Dwight Gooden had a more consistent career, he would have been in. But David Cohn, Tim Hudson, Justin Verlander, Roy Halladay. I think you're right, Ron. I don't think that he's a lock. I don't think that he's somebody that is going to be a first ballot. I think it'll take him a couple of years to generate this support, but
I agree with that.
I think you're absolutely right, Elliot. I think the new win plateau, and given who the writers will likely be by the time that he's eligible, and then you add into it, 3 World Series and all of his accomplishments. And look, we know that people like stories. And so there are going to be a certain number of writers who are going to take into account the fact that the guy overcame cancer. And I think that, he's not a first ballot, but I think that eventually he's going to wind up in the Hall of Fame. The big question then will be, does he wear a Red Sox hat or does he wear a Cubs? That's what I was going to ask
you guys. I think that I kind of liken him maybe to a little bit like Jack Morris. It took him a while to get in, but he won World Series with a couple different teams, right? Really a workhorse. I'm wondering if it's going to be a little bit like that, like not in right away, Pete. I think I kind of agree. Probably not a first ballot. But I think eventually we probably see him, man. It'd be a good question, though. Which hat does he decide to wear? I don't know. But with the length of time he was actually with Boston, was it 7 years?
I think he was with Boston longer than anybody else. My recollection is that
which doesn't always matter. It doesn't always tell you which hat they're going to wear. But
no, but
is it up to the Hall of Fame, or
no? It's up to the player.
Because
it's up to the player, I think. It was up to, like, Tony La Russa decided not to wear a team on his hat when he went in, even though he spent 16 years in state.
I thought that they made, like, Andre Dawson wear the Expos hat instead of wearing the Cubs hat, when he's largely known as a Cub, when he won most of his accolades as a player with the Cubs. I could have sworn that.
I don't know. I'll put into this category. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I don't care.
So in answer to your earlier question, he spent a little over 8 seasons with Boston. And I remember reading somewhere that he thought that he was going to retire with the Red Sox. But then when he got traded to Oakland, that kind of changed his whole perspective on things. So I wonder if that changes his perspective on things. He was clearly a more effective, more dominant pitcher when he was with the Red Sox. But I wonder if the good feelings of his career when he was in Chicago. I wonder if that sways it, and he ends up sticking with them.
I don't know, Pete. Look at this year when he's invited back to Boston to throw out a first pitch, here or there, and they'll do over the next. They've got 5 years to do all the recruiting and get him back into Boston in front of the crowd. They've got 5 years to try to recruit a guy to wear their hat into the Hall of Fame again if they really want to do that. And you never know how a player's perspective changes over that time too. Once they get away from the game and get out of it, they may not feel the same way as the day they left, I guess.
Good point. If it takes him 3 or 4 years to get in, that would be the interim of time before Yachty finally breaks down and is unable to continue. So, he may decide to wear a Cardinals hat so that he and Yachty can go in as teammates when Yachty gets voted in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, which I think the longer his career lasts, I think it's a four.
Yeah, he'll compile it up enough to where you got to, I agree. If he would have, maybe if he wouldn't have played last year, which would have sucked, but if he wouldn't have played, I don't know. You could probably, I could be convinced one way or the other. He's not getting in on the first round, and he still may not get elected first round. Talking about Yachty,
I think he will.
And I do too. But again, I'll go back to I'll stick with the theme. I will not change. I will not move the goalpost tonight. Hall of Fame, I honestly don't care. I really don't. I don't know why people get so bent out of shape over this. It's not a sacred hall to me. I don't know if it ever really was. Kind of cool when you see your player, get recognized for that and they get a plaque and everything. But guys, I'm just not. It's not so precious to me that I'm. It's worth like a heated debate. Like, I'm not going to go tack a writer on Twitter. I'm going to roll my eyes at his ballot and say, okay, here, get the attention you so want, because people on Twitter will give it to you, but I won't be one of them. I just don't care. But is that again consistent with the way I feel about players most of the time?
I think that's the way you feel about
once your playing days are done, I'm kind of done with you. I don't care unless you're a coach with the team or something. Hey, look, you got your own life. You're not interested in what I do off the field. You're not interested in me at all.
Wait a minute now. You're making an awfully big assumption. I mean, Benji Molina took the time to meet your son in person, so you can't say that every player doesn't care about you, Ron.
I'm pretty sure Benji was probably paid in some way, shape, or form to be down in St. Louis that weekend watching the game, not just out of the kindness of his heart. No, Benji is a great guy, but look, once players are done or they're not behind a microphone, they're not really giving an opinion, or they're not coaching. Hey, that's cool. You're a good memory, but I don't need to follow you around.
Until he moves in next door to you, right?
No, I don't think any professional athlete's going to move around here. It's just these houses are too close to each other, so that's not going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, unless they're entertaining on Twitter and can keep my attention in other forms of entertainment, not really going to follow you.
Like really, throughout my years doing this kind of thing, I've talked to former players before. Talked to Matt Holliday. We talked to Ryan Terrio, Pete, I think once, and my first round of kind of going through and doing interviews like that was kind of fun. But anymore, I'm like, I don't think I want to talk to any of them anymore. And it's not. I don't know. It sounds like this is coming from a bad place, but it's not. I mean, you hear what those guys say all over the place all the time. We already know their opinion. It's like, having guys from the media on anymore is like, why? You can read their opinion or what they have to say almost every day. And most of them do, even if they do TV, they still do a podcast in some way, shape, or form. So what more are we going to get out of them by them coming to talk to us? Like what revelation or coolness is going to come out of that? Not much. I don't think anymore.
Well, but what you're hoping is that you occasionally strike gold with somebody like Mark Littell, who you absolutely would have on every week, right? I'm sure there's a couple others. There's a couple others. Now I'm going to go back on what I said. There's a couple others I would love to talk to that are kind of done with the game, but maybe they're still in it to some limited extent. Will Clark, I would absolutely love to talk to him. I think he'd be a great conversation. He doesn't really, you don't hear from him very much. I think he works in the Giants organization, but rarely does he do an interview or anything. So I think he'd be a great person to talk to. You're right, Pete. Mark Littell is an exception to the rule. He really is, because he actually has personality. He has stories, and he's funny as shit. And I'll talk to those guys all day long. Let's just call it what it is, man. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, don't you think like 85% of players are nuclear loose?
I don't want to hear from them.
Because they're nuclear loose. They've been fed their lines, and they
Yeah,
repeat their
right.
lines as they're told to. And they just
Right.
the same ones over and over again.
In a normal year, if we ever have one again, just listen to MLB Network in the off season. Holy shit. You just want to change the channel. As soon as they get a player on, I'm done. Like usually when they have coaches or managers on, that has the potential to be interesting. But when they have players on in the off season, fuck man, I am changing the channel. I mean, it'll put you in a coma and you're driving and that's not safe.
It's not safe. And you know what's important about being safe? It's like it's like working with Mark Littell, because Mark Littell, I got to tell you, I got an email a couple of weeks ago from Nutty Buddy because obviously they saw that I had bought equipment for my son. And so they sent me a coupon because Mark clearly has established that he wants all of us to stay protected.
It's important to stay protected.
It is important.
You're going to have to string this out for a couple more seconds, Pete. You caught me off guard. Man, you did such a good job, and it is my fault tonight, but it is important to stay protected.
Yes, it is. Because, Ron, sometimes life throws you a curve, and that's why you need Allstate.
Yes, the Wiley Group has 2 locations in Festus and Arnold to serve you. They offer home, auto, boat, motorcycle, business, life insurance, investments, and so much more. They can offer you a customized approach that is unique to your situation. You, your family, and assets are properly protected. They'll make sure that you, your family, and assets are properly protected. They also offer great rates and savings. Give Sean and his team a call today at 636-764-6294. They'll help you with an insurance quote right over the phone. You can even talk to them about sports if you want to. They'll do that too if you can catch them. We all have busy lives, so you can email Sean at seanwiley@allstate.com and talk to him about your coverage options. And remember, you're in good hands with Allstate. Wow, caught off guard, did not have it prepared or ready. But
Ron, you got to start preparing yourself because I'm going to keep teeing you up like this as transitions.
I've been doing it on my own for a while.
I know.
And I'm not used to you throwing me a curveball, but that's okay. I'll go with it. We'll learn to work it.
Yes, we will.
Go.
We're going to get better at this because we're going to keep practicing.
So question from our previous topic.
Until Elliot does it, and then it's just.
Are there any ex-players that you guys follow that you find entertaining? Just out of curiosity.
Like on social media? No, not really.
Twitter?
No, I'm being completely honest. Not even being a dick. No, not really.
2. Spice Adams from ex-Chicago Bear, who's actually pretty hilarious.
Okay.
And then Chris Cluey, because the dude's a nerd and plays video games, so that's why I follow him.
Okay.
And he was a Minnesota Viking punter. I mean, I just found the dude entertaining. But other than that, there are no real personality guys that used to be ex-players.
I know it's really bad, and maybe I don't blame them. They don't want to hang out on social media when they have to do an interview. They don't really want to do it. They're there, but they'll do it anyway.
And they don't want to have to explain themselves if they say something wrong,
right?
Or that they don't even perceive as being wrong, but that the current zeitgeist decides has to absolutely tear them down and destroy them.
So they hand you the equivalent of unbuttered toast over the interview, and that's all you get.
Right. Or they just don't do it. Like you said, Will Clark works for the Giants organization, and you never hear from him.
Yeah. I guess there are a couple more that I enjoy listening to, like on the radio. Like Olin Kreutz is always really good after, talking about Bears games. Lance Briggs is pretty decent, and Alex Brown. I really like those guys. Listening to
Lance Briggs would have been too mad at the end of his career to ever get behind a mic or in front of a mic. Like wasn't he mad the whole time?
Well, I don't know. Was he always mad, or was he mad after he crashed his Lamborghini?
He might have been mad about the Lamborghini.
I'd be mad if I crashed a Lamborghini. So, not gonna lie. Hey, so the other thing, and we'll definitely get back to where you were leading us there, Elliot. No doubt, because the three of us have a little celebrating to do. But before we get to that, a little bit of movement on the labor front. Reportedly, the players and the owners sat down today, and the reports, and this is I'm reading from Jeff Passan. Not good. So supposedly, Major League Baseball's proposal was to funnel additional money to all players with 2 or more years of service, to award draft picks to teams that don't manipulate service of successful top prospects. I don't know how you're going to measure that. And then tweaks to the draft lottery, although there haven't been any details. Now, here's what they say as far as awarding draft picks. If a highly ranked prospect, so within the top 150 on prospect lists, plays a full year and finishes top 5 for a major award like MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, his team would get a bonus draft pick. how does that?
Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That has
How does
nothing
that
to do with service
incentivize
time.
teams to not manipulate the service times of their prospects? I mean, is an extra year of, well, I mean, a bad example, but is an additional year of control of Chris Bryant worth less than a draft pick that, or worth a top lottery pick that you're not going to get to draft, or that you're not going to bring up most optimistic in 3 years? Maybe.
That still wouldn't have changed anything for Chris Bryant's rookie
No.
year. He won Rookie of the Year, but they still manipulated his.
Well, but that's what they're saying
service
is
time.
if he plays a full year, then you get the draft pick.
So he wins Rookie of the Year, but you manipulated his service time, so you lose the draft pick.
Right.
Well,
you
and
don't get the
that's
bonus.
right.
The draft pick would be a bonus, right? It'd be another compensatory pick, which is all the Cardinals need.
That's right.
Pile them up. But here's the rub on the Bryant thing, right? Is that, and I agree with you, Pete. I don't know how you police that one, right? It's so subjective. Was a guy ready or was he not?
Yep.
What are you going to have a jury or a panel of baseball experts to determine? Nah, you got to call this guy up, or it's going to cost you. It's up to the sole discretion of the team, I believe. Now, if you want to change it to where if he plays more than a half season, it counts. But that was kind of the rub, right, with Bryant and some other guys, is that it was 12 games.
Right. And
you cost the kid a whole year for 12 games. You cost a person a whole year of free agency eligibility for 12 games. That's the rub. So I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the time up. Like if they play more than a half season, something. I mean, there's got to be a way to make it a little bit more fair. Like the Cubs, if you give him truth serum, they wanted to bring him up on day one, but they held on to him in AAA down there just long enough to where they could have control for another year.
I don't think that they were planning for it to be exactly 12 games, because there were, I mean, I know that the people who are on Chris Bryant's side, including Elliott, don't want to acknowledge this, but there were injuries that I think that had it been up to the Cubs, they would have kept him down a little bit longer so that it didn't look so blatant, right? Because if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna manipulate a guy's service time, you make it a month or a month and a half. You don't make it 12 games.
You know what I mean? They could change the rule to where it hurts the team a little bit. Like, fuck, we can't bring him up till August or something, right? Like we got like we want to bring him up really bad, but
yeah, if you bring him up before the All-Star break or before the trade deadline,
right,
it counts as a year, and his clock starts. And what it ought to be is your clock starts, right? Barring injury or something, and you have to go through some kind of arbitration, just like they do in college, right? You have a college athlete who gets injured at the beginning of the year. He can appeal to the NCAA for another year of eligibility. Right. So he's not going to, after 4 years, he's not out. He'll get an extra year.
Yeah.
Maybe you set up some kind of arbitration system like that, but why not have it be that the clock starts? You bring him up before, let's say, the All-Star break or the midpoint of the season. His clock starts and you've got him for 6 years from that point. So if you want to send him down for the rest of the year, okay, that's your choice, but the clock has started and you've got 6 years. If you really, I mean, if that's what you want to do, don't do this nitpicking, nickel and diming. Okay, this year he was up for 5 years, and last year he was up for 10 or for 5 days, and last year he was up for 30 days, and we're going to total it up, and then here it is. Don't do that. Clock starts. You brought him up before the halfway point. All right. Yeah. This is year one. I hope it works out for you.
I'm sure somebody can shoot holes to that one, why that wouldn't be possible. But on the surface, that's kind of where my head's always been with that, Pete, is that you can't leave it up to a board somehow to determine that a guy should have been called up. That's the team's choice. It's a team decision. You control your 40-man roster. You should be able to do with it what you choose to. But there is a cost to when a guy can become a free agent. I love the idea of that. I'm sure it needs to be tweaked a bit or refined. But the other thing is just age, right? Regardless of service time, there's got to be an age where guys can hit free agency instead of waiting until they're 30.
Well, and the guys who it really hurts are the young kids.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you have a prodigy like Alex Rodriguez, but if you have a prodigy like Alex Rodriguez, right? He can't hit free agency until he's 25. But he's already got 7 years of proven. Why can't he hit? Why does he have to wait until he's 25?
One or the other. I think it's one or the other though, Pete, is what I meant, right? It's either 6 years or 28 years old or whatever you want to do with it. 5 years. You know what I mean? It's either 6 years. And if you happen to be 24 at 6 years, so be it. You're a free agent. But like by the time you're 20, if you got drafted later, whatever happened, by the time you hit 27, 28, like you should have your first shot right there. Instead, not 30.
Yeah.
I mean, look at guys like, Tommy Pham, late bloomers like that, they never get their big payday that they probably deserve because, they hit their stride a little bit later than some.
Because they're guys like Patrick Wisdom and Frank Schwindel where they were blocked and they just couldn't make it up because there were guys
or injury or whatever else. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank Schwindel is never going to cash in on that.
No.
So even if last year's breakout was real, that guy's going to miss out on tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. Which sucks. And you hate to see it, but happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the money Puig could have made in his career if he'd have just not been such a dipshit.
Stop licking bats, man. You'll be good.
For those of you that are just listening to audio, Pete just licked his microphone.
Actually, Pete didn't lick his microphone. He used the angle to make it appear that he licked his microphone, but you didn't hear anything when I brushed the microphone, did you? See? Now I'm touching my microphone.
Full value out of it.
What's that?
Go ahead and lick it for real. Let's get full value out of it. We want to hear it.
No, you don't.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously those are the big things, and that's kind of, I admit it is disappointing. I don't think that I think the owners are fully prepared, and this really bothers me. The owners are fully prepared to eat into spring training and more, because if you sit down to negotiate and nothing of the core economics gets covered, right? Nothing about the luxury tax, nothing about free agency. Man, you're not gonna land on anything.
But and it's just to wait and do it now. It's what kills me. It's like, okay, we're gonna wait till either pitchers and catchers spring training or regular season games are in jeopardy before we start trying to make something work. And that's what isn't sitting well with me, because before any of this crazy shit happened, there was dialogue already started. I felt like they were trying to get ahead of the curve a bit on this next CBA that was coming up. Now, granted, this is 3 years ago, but again, like, nobody's coming to surprise you with a deadline. You procrastinated like hell, and you tried to use the season as leverage. What you didn't calculate was that you would have 2 interrupted seasons before that, and this is the worst possible time for you to do this. You had months, years to talk about this shit. Not now. You had years to do it. Now, who does this hurt the most? We want a big, bunch of fucking bow breeding about who this about who this hurts the most. Does it hurt players the most? Minor leaguers? I don't know. Fucking boo-hoo for all of them. But listen, when you're threatening to shorten games once again for people that work concessions, for people that clean the damn stadium, grounds crews, people that sell shit around in and around the ballpark, restaurants, right? Those are the people that you're hurting. Those are the people I'm starting to get pissed off more for than minor leaguers or players. And why? It's because this deadline did not pop up overnight. It's fucking been there. They've had all the time in the world to start getting a dialogue between the two sides. It is pitiful. I know what they're trying to do. This is completely political. They're no better than politicians how they're doing this. They're waiting to now to fucking do it. And it's just, man, it makes me want to rip goddamn flag off the ceiling up there. And I might.
The crazy thing is anybody else who works in a job where you negotiate contracts, if you wait until the last minute and say, you know what, it's just not going to get done right away, your ass is going to be fired.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Mike Trout could probably get away with that, and the normal average Joe probably couldn't, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, to wait to now and then to wait over a month to sit down and talk and to have a conversation last about 20 minutes is just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, guys?
You're just using the deadline to see who's going to balk first.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks because it's everybody else who gets hurt.
Well, I don't know how you guys feel, but I know we're not big fans of Rob Manfred, but he is doing what the owners want him to do. At least probably most of the deep pocket owners want him to do. And no, I don't think he's the best commissioner ever. I think this players union and the players themselves are a bunch of fucking crybabies in this incident. If they can't recognize what's happened over the last 2+ years, and if they can't have tried to, like, the one sport to try to get out ahead of something and make it right, and you couldn't do it. You didn't even try to do it. It's not that you couldn't, it's just you didn't try. So this is horribly disappointing. Fuck you, baseball. Fuck you, Players Union. Fuck you, ownership. All of you. That concludes my baseball coverage.
Again.
I don't even want to talk about baseball anymore tonight.
All right. Well, then let's talk about some happy news. The Bears seem to have done the right thing. And I don't want to assume anything because they did say that they might hire their coach before they hire their GM. They haven't completely kicked Ted Phillips to the curb, although it does appear that all he's going to be in charge of is the business side of things, which kind of, if you look at it, it kind of mirrors what the Cubs did, right? They didn't get, Cubs fans wanted the Cubs to get rid of Crane Kenny, and they didn't. They just kicked him over to the business side and said, print money for us, please. And so, if Ted Phillips can manage to do that for the Bears and just stay out of the way, great. I'm not real optimistic when you look at it, and it appears that McCaskey, Phillips, and Bill Polian are the three of the five who are heading up the search committee. But you look at all the names that are being floated, it would appear that the Bears are pointed in the right direction when it comes to looking for their new GM. I'm cautiously optimistic, gents.
Ooh. Evidently nobody can hear us, and I don't know why.
You know it doesn't.
I saw a text on my phone. Nobody can hear us on the I'm assuming the Facebook thing or
While you're trying to figure that out, you know what doesn't build confidence in me?
What's that?
When you have George McCaskey saying, "Well, I'm not a football analyst. I'm just a fan." But he's the guy out there looking for people to bring in to help run the Bears.
Well, but I agree. But at least this time around, he acknowledges that he knows nothing about football. And he's brought in Bill Polian to help him out. But this seems to be a replay of the last time that they did a search. So we'll see what happens. But I'm at least a little bit more optimistic in that at least this time he's acknowledging that he doesn't know anything about football and that he's kicking Ted Phillips out of the way. That the new GM will report directly to him, and there won't be anybody between the GM and which means that the GM will be in charge of football, and he's not going to have to answer to anybody except the owner, which really is the way that it should be, regardless of what the title is, whether it's general manager, president of football operations, whatever you want to call it. He should be reporting to the ownership.
Yeah. All right. I'm probably not going to figure out why people can't hear us. Sorry, guys. I mean,
no worries. We're recording.
Put in some text. Listen to the audio version of it tomorrow, I guess. But it's probably a good thing nobody can hear it tonight. I wish I could kind of stop the broadcast. Maybe I should. Should I just do it?
Yeah.
And just continue to record?
Our feed is great. It's just that
there's no sound. I don't get it.
There's no sound coming through.
Just throw up one of those technical difficulties screens.
I had a feeling that something wasn't going to work when it said this is a recovered version of the
there you go,
of Wirecast.
Well, it's okay. I'm recording. I've been recording the whole time, and and it's.
You know what? You keep recording. Let me try one thing. I'll go ahead and stop because that's how I can change my settings. I'm just wondering, Pete, if that's one of those nasty mix minus or something that I forgot to take down.
Could be.
That could potentially be the reason.
Could be because before you guys jumped on, I could actually hear myself echoing when I was talking, but I'm not hearing it now. So that would indicate that the mix minus would seem to be fine.
Yeah, I don't think I had it on. I didn't. No, I've had it off. So yeah, it's really weird. Okay, so the feed's not putting it out.
Don't shut it down until we finish it, and because I've got Monday, I've got the day off for Martin Luther King Day. So I can spend some time, and I don't have the boy.
Well, I've already stopped recording, so it's on you now.
Yeah. So, and I'll spend some time this weekend, and I'll match up the audio to the video. I'll download the video, and then I'll drop in the audio track.
Wow, you can do that. You get this. You got some skills, man, that I don't have. Let me pop a screen in here. You go ahead and keep talking, and I'll handle this.
Okay. You're just going to throw that up so that then in that case, you know what it means is that really we do need to wrap it up. And if we're going to wrap it up, I mean, look, Ron, I can tell just by the look on your face that you're stressed out about this.
No, I'm not.
You're not?
I know where you're going. I don't want to do it yet.
Okay, well, you know what? I'll do it then. Because just looking at you, Ron, I can see how stressed you are. It's just like buying a vehicle, because we all know that buying a vehicle can be stressful. But, Ron, it doesn't have to be. Now, Fifth Street Motors, located in Pacific, Missouri, will help you find the vehicle you need, no matter what brand. Fifth Street Motors believes in giving you the best price on a pre-owned vehicle that will fit your budget. So give Brandon or Don a call today at 573-259-1306 and tell them Gateway City Sports sent you. And with that, gents, Boy and I watched Book of Boba Fett, and I got to admit, this was a slow play. I'm expecting a huge finish, because to put this week's episode right in the middle of this seven episode arc,
seven.
slowed things down quite a bit.
I gotta tell you that, this is episode 3, right?
Yep.
Yes. Quite possibly the most lame and worst chase scene I've ever seen.
My son loved it.
But okay, fine. I might have his age too, but given what we're used to,
yep.
Like, first of all, let me go on record saying,
wait, worse than Canto Bite?
Oh, Jesus. I'm not a chase scene like fan. I don't hate every one of them, but I'm like, it's kind of a chase scene to me is like yawn. Okay. I don't like them. Most James Bond movies have like 4 or 5 of them somewhere where somebody's trying to run away from somebody else, even though what the fuck you're running to, you're not getting away. So yeah, there's a chase scene in here on, kids that are broke, but they have enough money to afford robot parts for their bodies and really cool, nice, slick looking speeder bikes that look like motorcycles. Okay. So the most slow, and there's two parts of this that two parts of the latest episode that I had like kind of like, fuck, really? We're doing this? Was the chase scene through Mos Eisley, through the Twi'lek, or what is he? He's the executive assistant to the mayor who speaks like he's from, Chicago. No accent or anything. And you don't have to. Hera faked her accent when in Star Wars Rebels, right? You don't have to have an accent as a Twi'lek, but like very out of universe feeling for this guy. I've not really liked him at all. And the chase scene was just lame as shit. Moved in slow motion. Bored as hell with it. That was one problem I have with it. And the other part of this, guys, and this is an element of this whole story so far that just ended like a fart. Right? So that's how it ended. Was this whole Wookiee gladiator bounty hunter, how that ended for me was like, what? And if you don't know, he's in the comic book canon, right? Black Chrysanthemum, or whatever the hell his name is, or Chrysanthemum is what they called him on the show. He was pretty badass looking when he was introduced in the chapter 2. I mean, he looked pretty intimidating, didn't he? And the slow motion fight in Boba's little back to tank room with his hired help and everything was like, how slow motion this Wookiee moved around most of the time was like, what the fuck, man? This is a Star Wars production, and it just fell flat. And then he gets captured, and then he jogs off at the end when he says, "Go ahead and get out of here. We'll let you go." And he jogs away like he's trying to get away from something he's scared of. That Wookiee's not scared of shit. Should have walked away like a pimp. That's what he should have done. And I don't know, man. This is just a lot about this show so far, man. I don't know. It's just not really landing on me like I wanted it to.
I was really hoping that he would tear somebody's arms off and beat them with it.
You've always wanted to see a Wookiee do it.
Yes.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Like,
or at least one arm.
Make him a threat. Like, he looked badass in that second chapter, and the way it ended in chapter 3, I'm like, what? That's it? Maybe we'll see him again, but seriously,
I have a feeling we will.
It still fell flat though. I've not read every single comic series, and I know he's in a lot of story arcs through what's been released in comics, and I catch some of them. Others I'm just not interested in, but he's pretty agile and pretty capable, and how they portrayed him in live action has been disappointing so far. Wow. Pete, what do you got to say? You've been too quiet on this, so.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that this is the second act lull, right? That we're about to hit in the fourth episode, right? We're about to hit that turning point in the third act where everything comes to a head, and then we decrescendo towards our denouement. So I'm hopeful that this is a little bit of a breather before things really get hectic. But yeah, I was underwhelmed by this week's episode. And the other thing I was really disappointed by was how quickly the whole Tuscan chapter ended for us.
Oh my God! Yeah, abruptly.
We'd spent so much time in the first two episodes focusing on them, and then like that, it was done.
Right.
I'm
I'm surprised they brought that to a close off camera, because of you felt like there was going to be more to that story, and that you would get more background out of him from that Tuscan story, where whether it's a love interest or just more of him learning from them and helping them
Yeah.
solidify their area and bringing back some of that area of tattooing to them, to leave them in a good spot. So
Yeah.
because we know that he leaves them when
Yeah.
he goes to get his armor from the Mandalorian, but you were hoping that he would have left it on better terms. So
Yeah.
it's just I just felt like that shouldn't have happened off screen. There needed to be more to that story,
Or at
and
least a survivor or two, something that kind of.
Yes.
I mean, the one thing is
like the
I
child
quite-
or
yeah. or the female. There's a female Tuscan there.
the
See
female.
pictures of the actual actor, but she's pretty good looking.
Yeah.
And we've never seen an actual Tuscan with the mask off, so it'd be interesting how they would have done that. I thought we would have seen something like that
I
happen,
was so
but
hopeful.
yeah, and maybe we'll see her pop up at some point, because we didn't actually see her as part of the crew that was buried. I mean, I didn't.
Did we not? I thought that was her that we lingered on before he started the funeral pyre.
I thought that was the whole chief. That was the leader.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so
I'll have to watch it again.
I've seen it twice. I don't think it was the female one, but
I'll have to listen to it with the audio descriptions on so they can tell me who it is.
yeah, I might have to do the same thing. I haven't watched one of those like that yet, but yeah, I mean, this my son, and you know, I'm okay with the boys liking things that it might fall a little flat for me, but this was one I ended up watching twice, only because I hoping I would like it a little bit more the second time through. But yeah, so far I got to say I'm a little. This one's falling a little bit short for me, almost the whole thing. But I've been surprised. The aspect of this whole story so far that I've enjoyed the most is his time with the Tuscans, which I didn't think I would like. You know, if you would have told me that much time was going to be spent with them in the series, I would have been like, really, we got to really Tuscan for 3 episodes. We got to go through all this stuff. But it's actually been okay. Yeah, I don't know, Pete. I got to find that hope well that you've dipped into. How many more episodes are there of this?
4.
6 more? 4 more?
4 more.
Yeah, they got to get going. They got to get going, right?
I feel like there's somebody behind the scenes pulling the strings other than the mayor. So I don't.
It seems to me that we're being set up for a major clash with the Pikes, right? Because they were introduced as the syndicate that the Hutts are afraid of. The Hutts are the twins are leaving off world because of a syndicate, and it's clear that it's the Pikes. And now there's bad blood, because it certainly looks like the Pike. I mean, look, he went to collect when he went out and the rest of the Tuscans were slaughtered. He went to collect from the Pikes the protection money, and the Pikes said, we're not paying it because we're paying the bikers. And I think it's pretty clear that it was all set up as they weren't paying the bikers for protection. They paid the bikers off to go and kill the Tuscans when he came to collect. And so that's going to be the bad blood that sets up what I expect is going to be, hopefully, what I hope is going to be a pretty epic battle that spans over the next, or that grows over the next 4 episodes.
Now, just a little background on the syndicate. Now, isn't the syndicate a part of the group that is run by Maul?
No, I think it's the Pike Syndicate. I don't think that it's Maul's group.
Okay, because I I was thinking that it was
Crimson Dawn.
Syndicate, the Crimson Dawn, were all like all those factions were being directed by Maul.
Yeah, I absolutely know what you're saying, but by this time, Maul's dead.
Yeah. But by this time, Maul's dead. So who's left with Crimson Dawn is Kira. So in theory, Kira is the one left leading Crimson Dawn. What's left of Crimson Dawn, if it even exists at all.
Right.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No, Siri.
I said Kira.
We won't try that again. Have you renamed your phone Kira? Have you told her, when I say, hey, Kira, I want you to respond?
I have not. I'm not
going to get into where my mind is going. So anything else, gents?
No, it's kind of disappointing. I wanted to have more exciting stuff to talk about with the show up to this point, but not much, man. I even think they made the Bo'amar monk move a little too fast. The spider guy. See, now you've got me into a place where I'm nitpicking shit that I shouldn't.
It's funny because when you watch it, tell me, guys, when you watch it, do you watch it by yourself or do you watch it with the kids?
First by myself.
It's been a mix. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it with the boy this afternoon, and we stopped the show within a minute so that I could explain to him what the technical spider was. I was like, no, that's a Bo'amar monk. What's a monk? Okay, so we got into the whole mythology of what the Bo'amar monks are. And then here was another disappointing thing for me. Rancors apparently have emotions and loyalty, and that was. I just want them to be pure rage and hunger.
I know. That would be easier for people, but they did reach into legends for this one. And they brought it up actually on the episode. I give them some credit for like actually connecting the dots on this one. It goes back to the book called Trucet Bakura or something like that. It was a 90s novel. And it was centered around Princess Leia and Han, but yeah, that's when it got into the planet of Dathomir. And of course, Dathomir, it was the Night Sisters, the witches, and they would ride Rancors. It was kind of a native planet of the Rancor. Luke even rode one in this legend story, and it was overheated and hot, and Luke cooled it down with the Force and calmed it. So yeah, there were creatures that could be domesticated, so to speak, right? And so the Night Sisters have become canon. That started off as legend, but also now they've dipped back a little bit and into the little bit of history of the Rancor. Yeah, they're not just mindless eating machines. That they're not like great white sharks. They're a little bit more like dolphins with teeth.
Nice. Hey, just so you guys know, I just got a book from Amazon today. It's the Star Wars Lightsaber Collection. It's the hardback book. It's over 50% off for $13.99 instead of $30.
Did we not talk about this a year ago?
I think you got it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you? Oh. Yeah.
Oh, it's a hell of a book.
Well, I had a buddy send it over to me. He's like, dude, this thing's over 50% off. So
you nabbed it.
I nabbed it. Yeah.
I think I remember Pete opening up some pages for us.
You know what? I recall that now. I started reading through it when I got it today, and it's got some pretty cool lore in there.
Right?
Yeah. I've not looked at this myself, guys. But
hey, Ron, it's 50% off.
Yeah.
Go check it out, right?
What is it? It's $13.66 for the hardcover book.
You better jump on that, buddy.
Yeah. Do they have an iPad version?
I don't know. Can you unfold your iPad? Does that work?
Yeah.
You know what, though? You say that, but there was this making of books, and rest in peace, sir. J.W. Rensler wrote making of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Had hard copies of them, beautiful, big books. But the iPad versions had audio clips and cut scenes and all kinds of like pictures you could scroll through and zoom in on. iPad version was pretty kick-ass. And I have the...
Which I have to thank and acknowledge you for, because you got those for me, and they are very impressive. Yeah, you did.
Sure. Did I? Man.
Yeah,
you got a steel trap up there, Gaddis. I don't remember doing that.
Yeah.
I buy shit for people evidently when I liquor up on the weekend.
You must have been pretty liquored up. It was a while ago.
Cool.
And hey, listen, since you said RIP to authors, I mean, obviously we're clearly at the end of the show. Just wanted to take the opportunity. I just found out, and obviously this name is going to go completely over your guys' heads, but for those people who know me and who know my background in theater, rest in peace to Terry Teachout, longtime drama critic for, among other things, the Wall Street Journal, for Commentary Magazine and for National Review, and also Arts Journal. He was probably the preeminent cultural critic in the United States, and he passed away in his sleep last night. And so rest in peace to Terry. I never had an opportunity to meet him, but did have an opportunity to at least send him a letter and try to convince him to come out to Bloomington to watch one of our shows way back when I was working with the Shakespeare Festival. So rest in peace and Godspeed, good man. And with that,
I would like to go in my sleep though.
Oh,
that's the way to go.
Right? Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah. That's absolutely the ideal, right? You just lay
Probably
your head down.
not how I'm going to go.
No, you're going to go in a violent death caused by your sons. You're going to be recreating doom with them, and you're going to be climbing for the high ground on your rooftop. They're going to shoot you with a Nerf.
I'm going to be trapped in my body for like 12 to 18 months, not able to move, but conscious and not be able to do anything about it, and then go.
Then the hospital is going to burst into flames. And so you'll
that would be a glorious ending. That's not what's going to happen. It's going to be I was left in a janitor's closet because they were trying to move stuff around, and I just died in there.
Died in there in a pool of your own piss and shit.
That's right.
Outstanding. And with that, if you enjoyed this episode, I don't know why, but don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to subscribe. We're available on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out the other Gateway City Sports Network podcasts, including the Derek King Sports Show, 2 for 3 with Moose Michaels, Yacker Jacks, XFL STL, and End the Cards with A-Train Arlington Lane. You can send us an email at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com, and you can find Elliot on Twitter at
TOR_Elliot.
And you can find Ron at
TOR_Ron75.
And I do just have to plug us a little bit. This past weekend, spent a little bit of time cutting and editing. And so whether you go to Facebook or YouTube or Rumble, you can find some clips from last week's show, Ron's rant, a completely separate cut of our Star Wars discussion. And guys, I found it. CJ's zombie attack is up and highlighted.
I saw that. That was great.
Fantastic.
That was great.
Some good video. So, gentlemen, I think it's a
We
wrap.
physically haven't seen him since.
No, we haven't. I think we've seen him in the chat, but I don't think we've heard from
I don't know if that's him or not.
No, he's been in the
I've
chat.
seen him playing some Xbox. So.
Oh shit. Okay.
There you have it.
All right. Thank you, Pete. I'm not even going to bother playing the exit music. Nobody see it anyway, so we'll just give it a few minutes and say we'll see you next week. Love you all so much. Bye-bye, everyone. Okay.